two, one more in here. No pressure.
Alright, Tommy.
The knuckles.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Study that. Don't drop the ball.
The metal's right.
No pressure, but if you don't get this,
Sure,
game's
Garcia.
over. That's what I got yesterday.
Can I use two more colors?
2 days.
Yes.
Boom shakalaka. We
Hang
got
on.
so many questions.
Hang on,
Good
hang on.
question.
Okay, there you go.
Fire.
Asian? No.
Firecracker.
Fireworks, firecracker,
French
fire.
Fire break.
Ice,
Fire
ice.
break. Firewall.
Fire and ice?
We should get 2 points for that.
Yeah.
Nice color scheme too.
So we're tied. That's good, I guess. We're out of words. I guess that's a good way to look at it.
We're all in there, so.
You can put our markers there. Now we're doing it even. We're looking a little. Woo!
So that's what we did to learn to know each other better, be in a position where we could be honest with each other, stimulating creativity. I found it very useful. I think we all did. To get into the nuts and bolts of the discussion, we're going to invite Mr. Jeff up here and take it from there.
All right. Thanks, Glenn.
Sir.
So my name is Jeff Wilson. I work in IT security here in Norman. Just to introduce myself. So like Glenn was saying, the purpose of the icebreaker, there's a couple of purposes. One is it kind of goes to illustrate one of the core points that we tried to address in this process is as a community, as a team, we can answer bigger questions. We can bring more eyes to bear on the problem. So as individuals, we may not be able to, get the drawings right away, but as a group, we can kind of build off of each other and come up with neat solutions and relevant solutions. Also, we found that in our 5 weeks here in this room, we had to attack a big problem and through creativity. We had to come up with kind of new ideas. We had to brainstorm a lot. We had to, think outside the box. And so this icebreakers kind of helped us turn on creativity, help and get those creative juices flowing. And so it kind of goes to show that as well. So, if you're ever in a meeting where you need to have creative energy put into the meeting, a good idea might be to use an icebreaker. And we have a whole list of icebreakers that we use that we found were helpful. So if you ever want kind of our resources in that area, we'd be happy to give you our list of icebreakers. We are, the 12 of us who were in Work Different came from 2 different campuses. We were all from different Good to Great groups, and we were on different technology teams. We had different backgrounds, so we kind of represented a good cross section of OUIT. And we found that kind of empowered us because we represent you guys, we represent the people on your team, on your Good to Great team. We represent kind of OUIT, so we feel empowered by that, and that allowed us to come up with some really neat ideas. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the methodology of how we went about answering this big question, what is possible when IT pros work different? As you can see on the wall, we used a lot of sticky pads and a lot of colorful, kind of to just bring creativity to the forefront. We'd have a session where we want to, create roles. So we had everybody, throw down on a piece of paper what roles we thought we needed in this process and put them up on the wall. And then we took those ideas and grouped them into categories. We grouped the ones that were similar, and we said, okay, what kind of roles could we establish for this Work Different group, and what would really help us? and we identified the essential, one of the essential roles was timekeeper, which we have on display today. And because we only had 5 weeks, it was a very compressed, well, I mean, although it was 5 weeks, still very compressed. We had tight deadlines. We had to make sure we were constantly progressing, and we had good checkpoints along the way. The timekeeper role helped us make sure that all of our meetings stayed on course and that we were able to reach our goals that we set for the day, for the week, for the entire thing. We also had, as you can see, we had a scribe whose role it was to update the name site with content from the day or as things came up. And these roles rotated, very often. Like every meeting we had a different timekeeper, it seemed, and different scribes came in, and so it really allowed us to take kind of a balanced approach to working different. We got to account for different people's viewpoints. We had the agent of chaos role who played the devil's advocate with the awesome guitar prop. So we had props for every one of these roles, and we found it to help us out in tackling this big question. The first meeting we started out with establishing our charter, which is on one of the sheets is on that table, but the rest are on display up there. It helped us, we wanted to establish some ground rules, some common ground on which we could attack this big question. So we kind of agreed on a shared vision, our shared values, how we were going to go about approaching this big question, and what we thought the outcomes might look like. How would we know, when we had an outcome, that kind of thing. And so that allowed us to kind of build common ground and to get to know each other, really, and just to share our common beliefs. And once we finalized the charter and established roles, we said, okay, how are we going to attack this big question? Well, we decided to come up with over 100 other questions that we thought were relevant to answering this question. And these 100 plus questions we broke up into groups. We came up with ideas. We said, okay, what do we want to have answered, or at least addressed in this process? So we came up with these, and we realized, okay, 5 weeks is not long enough to answer 100 questions. So we whittled that down to about the top 25 questions to answer. Over a period of about a week, we set about answering those questions. We came up with ideas, and then we started pitching those ideas. We had a series of presentations to internal OUIT groups, to external groups, and that feedback that we got helped us shape what were our core concepts and the big idea that we're presenting. So that's kind of the process we took to answer this big question. So next, let me go and draw an illustration of one of the core concepts that that goes to the heart of what we're talking about today. We often work in stovepipes where projects that happen in Norman, projects that happen in Oklahoma City at Health Science Center, oftentimes, people can't see what's going on across the stovepipes, right? These stovepipes inhibit collaboration, they inhibit community, they inhibit making connections with new people, growing yourself in different technology areas. And we also have Tulsa, where these tendencies of isolation crop up a lot of places. These aren't just geographic tendencies of isolation. They're also team tendencies. I could have labeled these security, infrastructure, PMO. I could have labeled these with building names, EL, Merrick, Evans Hall. These kind of tendencies of isolation crop up all over the place. And oftentimes, if I need to get to a resource in Oklahoma City at the Health Science Center, I use the traditional hierarchy to do that. So I'll go to my boss, who then goes to some other guy high up over here, who then gets to the guy who supervises the guy who I need to get into contact with, and then they find the guy potentially, and then I make a connection across that way. And that's not working different. That's superimposed collaboration, and it really stops us from these boundaries stop us from